All right, West Virginia fans, it's Big 12 tournament time. The West Virginia Mountaineers are heading to Tulsa for the Big 12 wrestling tournament. If you're a wrestling fan, you know this time of the year is the best time of the year to be a wrestling fan. So super hyped to do this video. On today's video, we're going to break down each weight class of the tournament and where every Mountaineer stands heading into Tulsa this weekend. Before we do that, if you're a Mountaineer fan, please remember to like and subscribe to the show. We really appreciate all the support. With that being said, let's get into the video. So to start off, I want to actually go over a recap really quickly of the dual part of the season for West Virginia. Very respectable 11-5 record for the West Virginia Mountaineers. They were 5-3 in the Big 12 Conference. Before the season started, I had a video out that previewed the season, and it said program on the rise. And I think what they did in duels this season proves that point. Finishing with a 5-3 record in conference play and finishing with 11 wins is a step in the right direction for this program. And Tim Flynn and the coaching staff and the wrestlers deserve a lot of credit because I thought it was a very solid season for them. The most exciting wins were over Oklahoma and Arizona State this season. The Oklahoma match went right down to the wire. Rune Lawrence had a huge pin in that one. And then Arizona State match as well came down to the wire. So overall, it was a successful season for the wrestling team. So shout out to those guys for representing the Mountaineers and having a really, really successful dual meet part of the season. Now, let's talk about the individual rankings heading into the Big 12s this weekend. So the coaches poll came out. They ranked the top 33 wrestlers at each weight class in the country. And you can see where the West Virginia guys stand here. Jett Strickenberger is ranked 16th. Gunnar Andrick, 19. Ty Waters, 7. Conley, 18. Bush, 17. Lawrence, 14. And as a team, they're ranked 16th in the country. So really respectable rankings for these guys. Strickenberger right now is 16th. That's probably the lowest he's been ranked all season. So we'll talk about him in a second. That's definitely interesting. Ty Waters at 7th. He was a guy that started around 5th, ended up going to 1, now back to 7. And then Lawrence has been a guy that's been climbing the rankings. But we're going to talk about all these guys on the show today. So let's talk about the pre-allocations heading into the Big 12 tournament this weekend. It's at Tulsa, which is a famous wrestling place. Everyone knows Tulsa well if you're part of the wrestling community. So the way this works is we have the NCAA comes out with allocations, and if you place in these places at your conference tournament, you earn an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. So these guys can literally wrestle their way into the NCAA tournament in a few weeks with a good showing at the Big 12 wrestling tournament. So at 125, there's 5 auto bids. At 133, there's 8. At 141, there's 7. 149, 5. 157 at 5. 165 has 4. 174 has 7. 184 has 8. 197 has 8. And 285 has 6. So there's 63 total auto bids up for grabs this weekend in Tulsa. All right, let's break down each weight class and where West Virginia guys stand. Let's start off with Jett Strickenberger. Starting off, he's the 3 seed. He's the returning Big 12 champion. We've mentioned this numerous times. He lost in the NCAA blood round last year in a really tough loss. This is his lowest ranking of the season. So I expect this guy to have a huge chip on his shoulder for this one. Now, he's dropped a few matches recently, and he's had his ups and downs, battled through some injuries earlier in the year. But for him, I think he's a senior this year. And with being a senior, this is his last shot. And I think it starts off with a really solid Big 12 wrestling tournament. The matchup I'm watching for him is with Steve Poland. These guys have a history together, and he's taking care of him usually, but this year they've split. So he beat him in the Cliff Keen tournament earlier in the season, 7-4 in Southern Victory, but then Poland got the better of him in an eye-opening 14-4 major decision. So I'm looking for these guys to have a collision course in that semifinal, Poland versus Strickenberger. That one should be really fun. But again, this guy has been this close to being an All-American. It's his last shot. I think you're going to see him with a guy with nothing to lose and urgency and, like I said, that chip on his shoulder. And I'm looking for a huge tournament from Strickenberger as he tries to repeat as Big 12 champion. Up next, we have Gunnar Andrick. And Gunnar Andrick is someone that we've talked about a lot on this show. He's a true freshman. He was very solid in high school, and he's a guy that has continued to get better. The fact that he's a 5 seed at a tough weight class right out of the gate as a freshman, super impressive. So he's going to have Carter Schmidt in his first round matchup. This one was very close in the dual meet. It was a 6-5 win for Andrick. Andrick wrestled a really smart match, and at the end of that match, had a nice takedown to seal that match up. So there's 8 auto bids for this bracket. So if Gunnar Andrick just wrestles to his seed and wrestles the way he's capable of, he should be able to get to the NCAAs. The one guy to watch in this weight class is Jax Forrest. If you're a wrestling fan, you probably know who he is. But if you don't know who he is absolutely incredible. He tech-falled Drake Ayala a few weeks ago. So Forrest is someone that is must watch. So if you get a chance to watch another wrestler in this weight class, you have to watch Jax Forrest. He is incredible wrestler. But back to Andrick, super excited to see what he can do in his first postseason. I think he's going to make a lot of noise. All right, up next, we have Jordan Titus. Jordan Titus, again, one of those guys that's a senior, and this is his last shot. This is the last ride for him. And he's someone that usually wrestles well in the postseason. He's been to the NCAAs 3 times. He's a 3-time national qualifier. He's had a really up and down season for him. He's 12-12 right now, and he's wrestled a ton of close matches. It seems like no matter when he wrestles, the match is always coming down to a takedown or a few points. So Titus has been really close, and I think he's better than what his record currently stands at. So he has a potential matchup if he wins his first match against Sergio Vega. That match was very, very close the first time that they wrestled. He lost 5-1, but I think that match, the score looked worse than it actually was. You know, a few things could have went Titus's way, and there was a chance he could have taken that one. So there's 7 spots up for grab in for the auto bid. So I could definitely see Titus making nationals again if he wrestles how he's capable of, and a guy that's going to wrestle with urgency because he's a senior and this could be his last shot. So Titus, looking forward to see what he can do at this weight class. Up next, we have Willie McDougald, who comes in at 6-8 on the season. McDougald has battled injuries pretty much the entire season. He's a guy that has been to NCAAs, similar to Titus, 3 times, and another guy that is a senior, and this is going to be his last shot. Unfortunately, he has the number 1 seed right away, which is tough, but I think the thing to keep an eye on here is people forget Willie McDougald is an Oklahoma Sooner transfer, so we have some bedlam action going on in that first round matchup. So I think this is one of the more wide open weight classes in the tournament, if I'm being honest. So even though Willie McDougald has a 6-8 record, I think he's similar to Titus again he's lost a lot of close matches this year. And I think he's a lot better than his record indicates too. So really interested to see how healthy McDougald is. And like I said, I think he's one of these guys that's going to let it all fly in the individual part of the season and let it all go out there. So we'll see how he does. This bracket has 5 auto bids, so he's going to have to wrestle to at least 5th place to get the auto bid. Just based on how the at-large bids work, he's probably going to need to get an auto bid to see nationals this year, just with that 6-8 record. All right, at 157, we have Ty Waters ranked 4th. I'm super excited to see Ty Waters wrestle in the postseason. I'm sure he's super giddy about the opportunity. This is a really exciting, wide-open weight class. It might be the best weight class in the whole tournament, in my opinion, just by seeing the top 4 seeds. And if you look at Ty Waters, he has his 2 losses this year came to 2 guys in this weight class. He lost to Larkin 4-2. So if Ty Waters can make the semis and Larkin takes care of business, they could be on a collision course for a semifinal, which was a really, really close match when these 2 met in the dual meet. And then the Zerbin kid, who's ranked 3, Waters dropped 5-2 in the dual meet. So his 2 losses were to those guys. The Rabadeo kid from Oklahoma State is also a very talented wrestler. That match did not happen in the dual meet. Waters sat out that one. So again, the top 4 in this weight class are absolutely loaded. But I think that if you look at Walter's pedigree. He's a guy that was ranked number 1 at one point in the season. He's already won a Big 12 championship in 2024. He was injured last year, so now it's a chance for him to get back to the postseason. He's already All-American. He's been there before. He's done that. I'm super excited to see what he can do on this weekend and see if he can avenge some of these losses and possibly take home his second Big 12 championship. All right, at 165, we have Sasha Gravanoski. He's a guy that has wrestled pretty much unattached this entire season. He started wrestling in the dual meets late in the season. I think he wrestled in the final 2. And he has a matchup with Ryder Downey. Their first matchup, he lost to Downey 12-1 in the dual meet when they met just a few weeks ago. There's only 4 auto bids for this one. So I think for this kid, it's going to be about getting experience and see how he does. But again, just a tough draw wrestling the 2 seed right away from someone who's pretty much wrestled unattached the entire season. All right, at 174, we have Brody Conley. And Brody Conley started off the season really hot and was off to a really, really great start. As of late, has really struggled. Is on a 5-match losing streak. There's 7 auto bids up for grab, and he is the 7 seed, so it's going to be close. And then he wrestled the number 2 seed, Carter Schubert, earlier this season, and it was very close. It was only 2-0. So this is another one that seems to be like a wide open weight class. And Connolly is a 2024 NCAA qualifier. He's been there before, so he's going to be trying to get back there this year. And like I said, if he just wrestles to his seed, he'll be going back to nationals. So again, you might as well throw out any dual meet matches that happened earlier in the season, just flush it. Like I said, he's been struggling as of late, but that means absolutely nothing now. We talked about Strickenberger earlier, who had a sudden victory win over Poulin, but the next time they met, he got majored. So just because one match happens doesn't mean that's going to happen the next, especially when you're talking college wrestling at this level. So super excited to see what Conley does. I've been high on him all year, and I'm going to remain high on him, even though he had a couple of streaky performances lately. I still think he's a solid wrestler and look for him to have a big tournament this weekend. All right, at 184, Ian Bush. And in my opinion, I think Ian Bush has had quietly a really, really solid season. You look at the record, 16-9, and he earned himself a 4 seed in this bracket. Last year, he was an NCAA qualifier at 197, so he dropped a weight class, and I think that dropping down a weight class has paid off so far. He has beaten Nick Fox from Northern Iowa, 8-2 in the dual meet just a few weeks ago. So Fox is the 5 seed, and if Fox wins, Bush has already beaten him 8-2, so that's a good sign for him. And then if you look at the number 1 seed, Aiden Sinclair, Bush battled him when they met in the dual meet. He only lost 2-1. It was a really, really close match in that one. So that could be a good sign for Bush if he can get another opportunity for a rematch there. He also has a very solid win over 6 seed Brian Saldano, who's from New Jersey, who's a very solid wrestler and dangerous wrestler himself. There's 8 auto bids in this bracket. So as long as he doesn't have a disastrous tournament, he should be going to nationals. And even if he did, he'd probably still get in that large bid, in my opinion. So really looking forward to watching Bush this weekend. And then 197, man, Rune Lawrence. You know, I've been on the Rune Lawrence train all year based on what he did in high school. I mean, he's a 4-time Pennsylvania state champ, and Pennsylvania is historically the toughest state for wrestling each year, and it's not even really a competition. That's coming from a Jersey guy who's, you know, a pretty solid high school state itself. But Rune Lawrence comes in as the 7 seed here, which could be a tough spot only because he's gonna have to wrestle Novak from Wyoming in the second round. So it looks like Lawrence will have a bye to that next round. He wrestled Novak in the duel, lost 6-2, but he does have that win over number 5 DJ Parker in the bracket, which helped West Virginia beat Oklahoma in that one. So Lawrence is a dangerous guy, and he's a guy that I could see catching fire and putting people on notice this postseason. You know, it wouldn't shock me if he was able to get to All-American status if he just had a good tournament. I think he could be that dangerous, and I think he's just going to be a guy that's going to continue to get better. He has a lot of eligibility left. He can pin you from anywhere, and he's a dangerous wrestler. So really looking forward to seeing what Rune Lawrence can do in his first full postseason with the West Virginia Mountaineers. And then to wrap it up, we have Brock Keller, who's a true freshman and he's had a tough season, not going to lie. He's 11-17. He has a really tough matchup with Bastida from Iowa State. He got tech falled the first time that they met. So that's going to be tough. Anytime you lose in the first round of a tournament, potentially, you have to wrestle all the way back. There's 6 auto bids in this one, so he's going to have to wrestle well to get to place in the top 6. But again, I think for him, it's all about gaining experience here, gaining confidence in your first Big 12 tournament, a young guy that has a lot of wrestling ahead of him. All right, that's all I got. Short episode. This kicks off tomorrow, so I wanted to squeeze this one in and talk about the wrestling team and talk about the individual part of the season, because there's a lot of high quality wrestling that's going to happen over the next few days. And I think that a lot of the guys on the team have been exciting to watch, and we've been building up to this point for the individual part of the season. It's time to see what these guys can do and hit their goals individually. Thank you for tuning into the Jersey Ear Show. We'll talk to you guys next time.